Shiki Tsubasa was a high school student who had just moved from the capital city, Tokyo, to Hokkaido. The moment he arrived in Hokkaido, he was amazed by the sight of thick snow covering the streets. His father told him that he could not pick him up, so he asked Tsubasa to get home on his own. Tsubasa thought he might have arrived too early, so he asked the taxi driver to stop before reaching his house because he wanted to take a walk. He was in awe of how wide and open the area was, as well as how quiet it felt, with no people or cars passing by. The atmosphere was completely different from Tokyo. However, he was shocked to realize just how cold the air truly was. In his mind, winter in Hokkaido was on a whole different level. As he started walking, he could not stop shivering. It made him wonder if moving to Hokkaido during this season had been a mistake. At that moment, the battery on his phone was running low, even though he was using it to check the map. Not far ahead, he noticed a girl standing alone. He was puzzled as to why she was wearing such a short skirt despite the freezing temperature, and even more surprised that she was not wearing thick clothing, especially when he himself, dressed in a heavy coat, felt like he was freezing to death. The girl looked in his direction, and Tsubasa asked her for directions to his home using the map on his phone. He could not help but notice how adorably red her nose was from the cold. After checking his phone, the girl pointed out the route he needed to take. Tsubasa thanked her and started to walk away, almost frozen in place earlier by how beautiful she was. Suddenly, the girl called out to him, asking if he planned to walk there. She told him it would take around 3 hours on foot, especially with the snow falling. Surprised, Tsubasa asked if that place was the town center and whether the next town was really that far away. The girl explained that Kikemi was very large. Tsubasa was shocked and realized he had made a mistake getting out of the taxi too early, thinking he could cover the rest on foot. He said he would just take the next taxi, but the girl told him no taxis passed through that area. When he asked if one would come right away if he called, she explained that if he was lucky, it might arrive in about 30 minutes. She then suggested that he wait for the bus with her instead, since it would also go to the town he was heading to and might arrive in about 5 minutes. Hearing this, Tsubasa felt relieved. He had no idea what would have happened if he had not met her. He thanked her again, and she seemed a little shy. She asked where he was from, and when he told her he was from Tokyo, she shouted in surprise. She could not understand why he had traveled so far from Tokyo to such a remote place. Tsubasa explained that he had moved to Hokkaido because of family matters. He was caught off guard by her accent, which sounded a little unusual to him. She joked that he probably thought people there were country folk, but he denied it and said that he actually liked it there because it felt peaceful. The truth was, he had often been called a country boy back in Tokyo, so he had never been popular. Even after moving from Tokyo, he still felt like one, though fortunately no one there knew it. The girl was thrilled when she learned that Tsubasa was the same age as her, 16. Even more surprising, he would also be attending Hoppurio High School, which was her school as well. She could not believe the coincidence and suddenly became more friendly with him, even looping her arm around his. Tsubasa felt slightly uncomfortable because she was standing very close to him. He was curious why in such cold weather she was not wearing gloves. Soon after, she sneezed and her nose started running. Tsubasa handed her a tissue. Back in Tokyo, he had never talked to a girl like this before. He wondered if all Hokkaido girls were this kind. Playfully, she scooped up some snow and slipped it into Tsubasa's coat, laughing when he jumped in surprise from the cold. Tsubasa looked at her face, finding her incredibly beautiful. Her cheeks turned red when she heard him say that she looked pretty. Not long after, the bus arrived and the girl got on right away. Before she left, Tsubasa asked for her name, and she told him it was Minami. He felt lucky to have met a girl in this new place. Shortly afterward, his father sent him a message asking if he had arrived yet. That was when Tsubasa realized he had forgotten to board the bus. Meanwhile, on the bus, Minami was thinking about how nice it would be if Tsubasa ended up in the same class as her. The next day, Tsubasa introduced himself as a new transfer student. He stated his name and where he came from in front of the class. The homeroom teacher then told him to take a seat in the back corner. As Tsubasa looked around, he noticed that Minami was not in the same class. That did not bother him much since he actually preferred diligent girls with black hair. Previously, he had been shocked because he had never met a girl like Minami. However, not long after, Minami entered the classroom. They made eye contact and Minami recognized him right away. She ran over and hugged him, surprised to find that they were classmates after all. At that moment, the teacher scolded Minami for being late again. Tsubasa was just as surprised to find himself in the same class as Minami, and even more so, he realized they were seated next to each other. Minami said that she thought his name was nice, which startled him because she called him by his given name, something only his family and male friends had done before. When class began, Tsubasa felt extremely cold, almost like he was inside a freezer. He wondered how everyone else could study so comfortably, only to notice that the students there were wearing jackets and blankets. Worried that he might catch a cold if this continued, he suddenly received a blanket from Minami. She was used to bringing 2 blankets to school because she got cold easily, but for that day, 1 was enough for her. Wrapped in Minami's blanket, Tsubasa felt her warmth and caught a gentle scent. It almost felt as if Minami were embracing him. Her face suddenly came to mind, making him realize that his teenage emotions might be running wild. After class ended, Tsubasa returned the blanket. He was puzzled when Minami immediately sniffed it. He apologized, saying that if it smelled bad, he would wash it before giving it back. Instead, Minami said that his scent had mixed with hers and she seemed pleased about it. Embarrassed, Tsubasa was convinced that she was teasing him on purpose. To his surprise, Minami asked for something in return for lending him the blanket. She was lucky because she had no one to walk home with that day, so she invited Tsubasa to go with her. Along the way, Minami held his hand the entire time, saying that they were already close. Tsubasa could not believe that they could be this friendly after only knowing each other for 2 days. When he asked where she lived, Minami explained that she took the train home, so she asked him to walk her to the station. She then asked if he had a girlfriend, to which Tsubasa quickly replied that he did not. Minami laughed at how bluntly he answered. She asked where people in Tokyo usually went on dates. Tsubasa said maybe Harajuku or Shin-Okubo. Minami wondered why not Shibuya or Marukyo. Tsubasa explained that people usually went there just to shop for clothes, while those who wanted to walk around and eat would go elsewhere. In truth, he had never been to those places. He only knew about them from the internet. Minami said she felt envious because Tokyo had many places to hang out. Tsubasa then asked where people usually went in Kitami. Minami replied that she mostly stayed home, especially in the cold winter, and people often just hung out at each other's houses. That made Tsubasa wonder if he should also try visiting someone's home. Before long, they reached the station, and Minami said this was as far as he needed to walk her. Before he left, she invited him to come over to her house the next day. Since it was a day off, she hoped he could visit, as she also wanted to learn more about Tokyo. Tsubasa looked nervous, not expecting such an invitation. He agreed, which made Minami happy. She then asked to exchange contact information with him. Shortly after, the train arrived and Minami waved goodbye before boarding. The next day, Tsubasa went to Minami's house to fulfill her request from the day before. It was actually the first time he had ever gone to a girl's house, and he had only been living in Hokkaido for 3 days. He felt a bit worried that his family might find out, but Minami's invitation was just too tempting. When he rang her doorbell, a voice from inside greeted him. Once he said he was looking for Minami, she told him to come in since the door wasn't locked. Tsubasa couldn't help but point out that her home security seemed a little too relaxed. Minami welcomed him at the entrance and invited him inside. After taking off his shoes, he was caught off guard by how bold her outfit looked. She mentioned that he was lucky her parents were out that day. That surprised him, and he found himself overthinking what she meant by lucky. She led him to the living room, where the air felt pleasantly warm. Minami explained that the living room had floor heating and a large heater, while her own room only had a small one, so it was still chilly there. Tsubasa wondered if that was what she meant earlier about being lucky her parents were gone. He sat down, feeling more relaxed, and thought it would be impossible for his mind to wander in that warm, cozy space. But suddenly, Minami playfully brushed her foot against him, making him jump. She gave him a curious look and asked what he was going to do. Minami then went to get them drinks, handing him a bottle of Katsugen, saying she had loved it since she was a kid. After taking a sip, Tsubasa liked its yogurt-like taste. Out of nowhere, Minami let out a small yelp. She had spilled some Katsugen on herself. Since it felt sticky, she went to change her clothes. Tsubasa's face heated up and his heart started racing. He tried to calm down, but when she came back in something even bolder than before, his heart skipped a beat again. She said she dressed like that because it was warm inside. Tsubasa gave her a VHS tape of a movie he hadn't seen yet, and Minami seemed interested, so she played it right away. Sitting there, Tsubasa's eyes wandered toward her from behind, and he quickly covered them with his hand. Unexpectedly, the movie had some suggestive scenes. He wanted to fast forward, but was worried Minami might get the wrong idea. A moment later, he heard Minami make a soft sound, and soon after, she nudged him with her foot again. He wondered if she was reacting to the movie, but then realized she had actually fallen asleep. Tsubasa thought it was strange that she could nap so comfortably in that outfit while sitting next to a guy, and it made him question if she even saw him as one. Wanting to keep her warm, he draped his jacket over her. When she woke up, she asked about the movie. It had already ended, and he told her he didn't wake her because she looked so peaceful. He left the tape there so she could return it any time. Only then did Minami notice his jacket on her. Tsubasa told her that even if the room wasn't cold, she could still catch a chill dressed like that while sleeping. He put the jacket back on, said goodbye since it was getting late, and thanked her for having him over. As he walked away, Minami suddenly realized something and ran after him. She apologized for falling asleep without meaning to. Then Tsubasa scolded her lightly for coming outside dressed like that. He wrapped his scarf around her to keep her from catching a cold. Her cheeks turned red and she thanked him. He even offered his jacket, but she refused, saying the scarf was already warm enough and she could be outside for a bit like that. Just then, Tsubasa shivered and sneezed. Feeling bad, Minami invited him to Sika Mart, saying she'd treat him as an apology. He didn't have the heart to turn her down, so he followed her there. Once inside, she bought him some food. After tasting the delicious fried chicken, Minami told him the store's onigiri was amazing, especially since it was freshly made there. She handed one to him, and he took a bite right away. Minami then pointed out that a bit of rice had stuck to his cheek. She leaned in, removed it, and popped it into her mouth with a grin. Seeing that, Tsubasa's face turned bright red as he looked away, flustered. Before leaving for school, Minami made a small snowman and took a picture of it to post on her story. When she arrived at school, she saw Tsubasa standing in the hallway staring at the bulletin board. Minami leaned in and whispered into his ear, which startled him. Tsubasa asked her not to scare him like that. On the bulletin board, there was a flyer for the snow festival. Minami asked if he was interested in going. Tsubasa said he wanted to go while he had the chance that weekend. Minami offered to go with him, which surprised him, making him wonder if that meant it was like a date. On that weekend afternoon, Minami was having snacks with her mother, Mei, and her younger sister, Momoko. That day, Mei had made potato mochi with cheese and served it with katsujin. Mei suggested taking the family on a weekend trip because Momoko wanted to go skiing, but Minami said she would not be joining them since she planned to go to the snow festival with a friend the next day. Momoko was disappointed that Minami would not be going with her, and Minami apologized. Mei mentioned that back in grade school, Minami often went to the snow festival. Not long after, Minami's father came home and Mei and Momoko welcomed him. At that moment, Minami saw on her phone that the theme for the snow festival that year was Snow, Our Friend. The next day, Tsubasa went to Kitami Station. The night before, Minami had messaged him to meet there at 11 a.m. He had not expected to be going with her, and he thought going to the snow festival together felt a lot like a date, especially since Minami had sent her message with an emoji. She had also sent him a photo, and when he opened it, he could not help but feel something stir inside him. He figured he should just enjoy his first big event in Hokkaido, and maybe Minami had invited him simply because she knew he did not have many friends yet. After waiting for a while at Kitami Station, Minami finally arrived, and her appearance caught Tsubasa so off guard that he let out a surprised yell. He realized that this was what her casual outfit looked like outside of school. Usually, she dressed in a more revealing style, but this time, her modest look somehow made her even more attractive. It was their first time meeting outside of school on a day off. Minami asked if she looked cute, and Tsubasa, covering his face, admitted that she did. She shared that the last time she had gone to the snow festival was back in grade school, so she had really missed it. Tsubasa told her he had read about the festival online and was excited to see the snow sculptures and try Hokkaido's signature festival foods. Minami suggested he should not get his hopes too high, then invited him to head out. When they arrived at the snow festival, Tsubasa was amazed. There were many snow sculptures on display, an ice slide, food stalls, and much more. Minami asked what he thought, and he said it was incredible. She was happy to see that he enjoyed it so much. They came across a large snow sculpture, and Minami remarked that she remembered the sculptures being even bigger in the past. Tsubasa jokingly said that maybe it was Minami who had grown. When he wanted to take a picture, Minami pulled him close for a selfie. Being that close, Tsubasa caught the pleasant scent of her perfume. Minami teased that he looked funny in the picture with his relaxed eyes, and he asked her to delete it. Soon after, Minami caught the smell of delicious food and invited Tsubasa to get something to eat. Tsubasa bought a hotdog, while Minami enjoyed yakitori. She asked to try his hotdog, opened her mouth, and he fed her a bite. She loved the taste and said it was delicious. When Tsubasa noticed her bite mark on the food, he hesitated for a moment before brushing the thought aside and eating it. Minami smiled, saying that if everyone was as simple as Tsubasa, they would all look adorable. Afterward, they built a snowman together, watched some performances, went sliding, and enjoyed free hot amaze provided by the festival. Minami asked what he thought of the snow festival, and he said it was amazing, especially with so many snow and ice displays. He admitted that since he had lived in Tokyo for a long time, the scenery here impressed him even more. It was still Japan, but it looked completely different from Tokyo. Tsubasa thanked Minami for going to the festival with him, saying he was happy to have gone together. Minami confessed that she had been a little worried because the last time she went was back in grade school, and while she enjoyed it back then, she was not sure if she would enjoy it the same way now. Minami admitted she was worried that Tsubasa might be disappointed if the event turned out to be nothing special, but it turned out her worries were pointless. She said that every time she was with Tsubasa, she liked Hokkaido even more. She also admitted the place was a great city, and seeing Tsubasa so happy made her happy too. Minami felt glad she had gone to the festival with him. Without even realizing it, she might have been completely in love with her hometown. At one point, Minami slipped, but Tsubasa quickly caught her. Their faces ended up close, which made them both blush. Tsubasa apologized and said he didn't mean anything by it. Minami thanked him, and as they walked home, Tsubasa asked if she wanted to hang out with him again sometime. She teased him, asking if he wanted that much to spend time alone with her. Tsubasa replied that it didn't have to be just the two of them next time. Minami mentioned that someday she would go to the Sapporo Snow Festival. The next day at school during lunch break, Tsubasa was about to take out his lunchbox when Minami showed up and invited him to eat together. She had even brought food for him, a cup of yakisoba. She was sure it was hard to find cup yakisoba in Tokyo. Tsubasa asked if she bought it just for him. Minami explained that after seeing his expression while eating at the snow festival the other day, she wanted to keep giving him food. Tsubasa guessed that her shyness must have already reached its limit. Minami poured hot water into the cup yakisoba, closed the lid, and waited for 3 minutes. After that, she added the seasoning, which also came with a packet of Chinese-style soup base, so the leftover water could be turned into soup. Tsubasa realized it was just instant food, but the way she served it made it look really appetizing. Minami then fed Tsubasa a bite. He praised it right away. The noodles had the perfect texture, the cabbage and other ingredients blended well with the sauce, and it tasted amazing. Minami said that with this, she had repaid the favor from the Snow Festival, when Tsubasa had given her a bite of hotang. She playfully asked him if the memory made his face red. Minami asked to see the lunch he had brought. Tsubasa said it was just an ordinary lunch, but when he opened it, she called it a New Year's dish. She immediately wanted to take a picture of it. Tsubasa wondered if his lunch really looked that unusual. He offered her a taste, and she especially liked the meat, asking why it was so tender and flavorful. She even jokingly called it divine meat. Tsubasa explained it was pork cooked by his grandmother. Minami loved it so much she jokingly said she wanted to marry his grandmother. After eating, Minami thanked him, and Tsubasa thanked her back for making yakisoba for him. He said that in his entire life, he had never eaten a cup of noodles that tasted that good, and Minami had given him so many new experiences. Minami was surprised that he had never eaten cup noodles before. Tsubasa also admitted he had never been to a girl's house, never gone shopping at a convenience store, and never gone to a festival with friends. Minami wondered if maybe he was really rich since he had such a different vibe, maybe because he was from Tokyo. Tsubasa said she had the wrong idea about Tokyo and his family wasn't that wealthy, but she didn't believe him and wanted to visit his house. After school, they headed to his place. Tsubasa couldn't refuse since Minami used her secret weapon charm to persuade him. As they walked together, Tsubasa felt unsure because his grandmother was home. Suddenly, Minami spotted an igloo and called Tsubasa over. She stepped inside, and he was taken aback for a moment. She grabbed his hand and pulled him in. Inside, their bodies were pressed close together, and Minami asked if this was his first time and whether he felt the warmth in there. Tsubasa felt the place felt really cramped. Minami pulled Tsubasa closer, but he wanted to get out of the igloo. She asked why he was leaving when he had just gone in, and he was caught off guard because the way she said it sounded a bit suggestive. In the end, he stepped out of the igloo. To his surprise, his grandmother Kaede was standing right there. She was startled by whatever she thought he had been doing inside and admitted she had overheard their conversation. Tsubasa was shocked, wondering how long she had been there, especially since she had heard everything. He was about to explain, but Minami suddenly grabbed his arm and teased that he had come out way too quickly, saying that a first-time experience should be enjoyed. Both Tsubasa and Kaede were stunned by her words. Minami's excitement only grew when she saw Kaede. She quickly introduced herself and mentioned she had tried Tsubasa's lunch that Kaede had made. Kaede smiled warmly upon hearing that. Minami called the cooking god tier, saying she was jealous that Tsubasa got to eat something so delicious every day and that she wanted to try it again. Kaede thanked her for the compliment and asked what Minami's relationship with Tsubasa was. Before Minami could answer, Tsubasa quickly said they were just classmates. Minami turned toward him, smiled, and agreed, though he began to feel uneasy about her. Snow started falling, and Kaede apologized to Minami, saying she had important matters to discuss with Tsubasa, so they needed to head home. She opened her umbrella and invited him to walk with her. Tsubasa said goodbye to Minami and apologized, already predicting trouble. He felt powerless, especially knowing that his grandmother didn't like people who acted overly familiar. To him, it felt like his peaceful life in Hokkaido had just ended. Suddenly, Minami caught up to them and asked why Kaede was using an umbrella. Kaede replied that it was only natural since it was snowing. Minami objected, worried that Kaede might slip if her hands were full and end up getting hurt. She explained that her own grandmother had once broken a bone because of a similar situation, and besides, snow could be brushed off by hand. Minami asked where Tsubasa's house was. He pointed in the direction, but she told him that just ahead there was an intersection that was dangerously slippery with ice, so they should avoid it. She suggested taking a safer route and offered to walk them there. She also offered to carry Kaede's belongings, saying she wanted Kaede to protect her hands so she could keep making such delicious food. Tsubasa insisted on carrying them himself. He then asked Minami if she was mad at him. She said she wasn't mad, she just saw him as a classmate. Tsubasa admitted he wasn't sure how to explain all this in front of his grandmother and quietly told Minami that she was an important friend to him. She smiled and deliberately repeated his words out loud, making him blush in embarrassment, worried that Kaede might hear. When they reached Tsubasa's house, Minami was amazed at how it looked. She said goodbye, knowing Tsubasa had something important to do. But Kaede stopped her, saying they had gotten home faster thanks to her help, and invited her in for tea. Minami was delighted. As Kaede poured the tea, she realized she might be softening up. Perhaps it was just age catching up to her. After all, Tsubasa had chosen to be around Minami, and Kaede was starting to believe she might be a good person. When she returned with the tea, she noticed Minami taking pictures of the house and commenting that Tsubasa was clearly from a wealthy family. Kaede thought to herself that maybe she should keep an eye on this girl, but then she saw Tsubasa laughing and it reminded her of when he was a little boy. Minami told her she wanted to learn a lot so she could become someone important and help her grandmother. It had been a long time since Kaede had seen that smile on her grandson's face. She decided to trust it and served them both tea. The next day, their homeroom teacher handed out a skiing guidebook. When Tsubasa looked at the skiing chart, he saw that he was sitting right behind Minami, with Sayuri next to him.